I will say this, and inspired by Jimmy Garoppolo, who was a tough watch last night on Monday Night Football. There's a piece of me right now that I don't like, and it's the piece of me that when he sees Jordan Poole play basketball goes, see? Like he looks.
You don't usually do I told you so stuff either.
He looks ridiculous. And I don't care what his numbers are in Washington. I really don't. He's going to have nights where he scores 40. He'll have nights where he scores 15. He'll have nights where he fires a three-pointer and turns around and looks at the opposing team's bench as the ball bricks off the back iron. And he'll have nights like last night where he goes against Boston and does the hot dog shimmy shake and then pulls up for a three-pointer that gets blocked and they go the other end of the way for a layup. Like, he looks absurd, but who cares? That's Washington's problem now. But when you go 3-0 on your first road trip, when they won, count them, 8? Do I have that right? Road games?
I thought it was 10.
What was the road record last year?
11-30?
Road record last year? Yeah, they got those 2 right at the end when Portland and Sacramento weren't trying. So maybe you're right. Whatever the hell it was. They basically got a third of their road wins already. Here, I got it. It's right here. You're right. 11-30.
Yeah, get off them.
You got 3 already? You 3-0 on the road? And I'm supposed to not think of Jordan Poole? Why are they suddenly good on the road? Could it be that, I don't know, they don't hate each other? Could it be that there's an adult running the second unit? Could it be that all of those things work together? Have you noticed? And look, I know I was one of the last ones to be able to wrap my head around Chris Paul on the team. And there's still a dynamic in rooting for him that I don't love, which is that when he has a bad play, I'm like, I just don't like it that you're on the team. But he's got a lot more good plays than bad, as we know. And he makes the Warriors look deeper. They look like a deeper team, even though I don't know if they are. But it's just because all of the other players that he supports, by setting things up and passing the ball so well, they all produce better. And so now rookies are even allowed on the floor.
Right.
In early road games, and they're blowing people out, including the Sacramento Kings on their opening night. I don't know, man. I don't know if you feel the same way I do. To me, that's A to B. They're 3-0 on the road because he's not on the team anymore.
I think that's, I don't want to say lazy radio, because I do think that there's a lot to that, but I think that there's a lot more to why they're starting out better on the road. Now, the Jordan Poole part of it, yeah, Jordan Poole was clearly broken last year. And why was he broken? Well, not completely and entirely because his teammate punched him in the face, but that certainly was part of it. And if you look at how their road year started, they lost 16 of their first 19 road games, and that went all the way through December. So if you want to look at the anatomy of their road record, so they started out 3-16 on the road, and they wound up 11-30. So after 3-16, they went 8-14, which is not world-beating, but it's better. So when you look at the 3-16, we have to look at exactly what was going on. In the opening stretch, you had James Wiseman playing a lot of minutes. Now, he wasn't playing 30 minutes a night, but James Wiseman was playing a lot of basketball for Golden State, and that wasn't working. So you had Wiseman playing, you had a broken Jordan Poole, and the team vibe was off from the preseason practice all the way through.
Right, but you also know that everything you're detailing was also true for home games, and they went 33-8. So why? We did this all year. Why? Why on the road? Kerr came on. He's like, it's a complete head scratcher. And this 11-30 isn't even really earned, because the last 2 that they got at the very end of the year in order to secure the 6th seed were 2 teams that completely punted the game in Portland and Sacramento. We remember. They didn't even play their players. So the Warriors got a couple of gifts at the end of the year just to get to 11-30. They were 9-30 before that. Why so bad on the road? Well, when you go on the road, all of that other stuff, the extraneous stuff, gets magnified.
It does.
Role players don't play as well. What's going on at the hotel? What's going on at the team dinner? Is there a togetherness? Home games, my perception, guys show up at the arena when they're supposed to show up, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. They've come from their homes, their families. They get together. There was a walkthrough earlier in the day. Let's go play basketball and hit the hay in bed, in our own beds tonight. But on the road, where are we going to dinner together afterward? What are we doing earlier in the day? We want to work out together. There's a camaraderie that didn't exist. Role players play worse because it's the road, and they were one of the worst road teams
no doubt.
In the whole NBA.
Early on especially.
So I'm not just talking about Jordan's style of play and his numbers.
Right. It's the vibe, and the vibe was ruined in large part because of what happened in that practice. Now, if that never happened, is Jordan Poole going to play differently?
Well,
I think so. Is he going to suddenly be a selfless, team-first basketball player? No. I don't think that you can have a Tiger change his stripes.
Agreed.
I do know, just looking at the numbers, Steph Curry missed 7 games on the road early. They went 1-6. James Wiseman played 11 road games last year for Golden State. They went 1-10 in those games. This is not to blame James Wiseman, but that was a big problem with the connectivity of this team. Jordan and Draymond didn't get along, and turns out, according to Logan Murdoch of The Ringer, Draymond never did apologize. And you and I went back and forth on this, and what did he do, what should he do, what I would do, what you would do, and all the rest of it. Well, turns out he didn't make the efforts to make it right.
He's not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
No, he's not sorry.
And
that's why he didn't apologize.
Exactly.
He's not sorry. Like we saw at the end of the year.
I get it. You're not sorry.
After Jordan was traded, the real colors came out.
I don't need him to be sorry, but at the same time, you can't look back at the year. I won't look back at the year and look at what went wrong and excuse what went wrong based on what he could have made right, what he could have made better, and he chose not to.
I think it's so much more intricate than that. And again,
I agree. I think it's a piece of it, though.
Yeah, it's hard. Of course it is. It's hard to talk about this without sounding like you are, reversing the victim role here. I understand that Jordan Poole should not have been punched. I totally get that. But to me, that was always a symptom and not the disease. It was a symptom of an internal relationship that had totally gone wrong. And when I watch Jordan Poole play now with the Washington Wizards, there is a little bit of a light bulb that goes on and goes, oh, yeah, no wonder smart veteran championship players hated the way this guy played. And Steph and Clay and everybody else can line up until the cows come home and find microphones and tell me about how Jordan Poole was their brother. Fine. I don't buy it. I don't buy it because you also greenlit the trade, and I know you did. I know you did, Steph and Clay, especially Steph. It doesn't happen without your approval. You are the deal in this town. You are the organization. And there's no way that trade happens without Steph Curry's approval. So you can call him your brother all you want, and maybe he is. That's fine. But the bottom line is they were sick and tired of the way this guy played basketball and then chatterboxed about it in their faces.
Yeah.
It was ineffective at the wrong time, and it was increasing every year. People look back, I feel like the championship year, and they go, well, what about that? He was amazing in the playoffs. No, he wasn't. He got benched against Boston.
Sure.
He had a couple of good nights against Denver in early rounds.
Absolutely.
And his play during the regular season.
He was unplayable.
His play during the regular season was a big part of why they played well. I don't run from that. But every time the stage got bigger, he got worse. And so this thing, like I look at the way they played on the road last year, and it just, every time I watch them play, it gets easier to see why this whole thing was fractured.
Yeah, I just think that it's too easy to point all your arrows at that one person in that one instance.
Oh, it's not all the blame on Jordan. It's, as I call it, the dynamic.
Yeah.
That's my nickname.
Yeah, I
for
like it.
Jordan and everything that's surrounded him.
That's definitely a part of it.
That's on the floor. It's off the floor. It's everything.
You look at Steph Curry in games that he missed, and they were 1-6 on the road when Steph Curry didn't play, including a loss to the Pelicans where they lost by, I think, 130. I'd have to confirm it. It was at least 50. James Wiseman played the first 10 games of the year, including 6 road games. They were 0-6 in those games. And the best he played was, he was a +9 once, but he was a -19. He was a -9 a couple times. He played 13 minutes. He played 10 minutes. He played 16 minutes. The James Wiseman experience was a failure, and it happened on the road. So you have Jordan Poole, fresh off getting popped by Draymond. He clearly wasn't playing the way he wanted to play. He was inconsistent. You had the James Wiseman experience. You had Klay Thompson coming off a year where he didn't work as hard as he probably should have. So there were a number of factors, I think, that led to them being that bad on the road early in the year.
No doubt. More on that in a second. But right now, just a reminder, it is time. Your chance to play a game of knockout at Chase Center. Make sure you're listening for the next 15 minutes, starting right now. Make sure you're listening for the next 15 minutes. When you hear this sounder, that's what you're listening for when you hear it. Then we're going to ask you a question about something we said over the last 15 minutes. You'll call in the contest line. Don't call now. I know some of you will. Don't call now. You won't win. You'll call the contest line when you hear that sounder and the question, and if you're the first to answer correctly, you will win the right to play a game of knockout at Chase Center. So again, make sure you're locked in over the next 15 minutes because the question will be about something that we said. 888-957-9570, Peter King in 30 minutes. I'll just add this. It almost feels similar to what we're saying about the 49ers right now, okay? The Warriors had a bunch of great basketball players last year, but why could they not win on the road? Left hand and the right hand couldn't shake. They absolutely could not work together. And it's similar to what I see on the 49er defense right now. You got a bunch of great players out there, but something is rotten in the state of Denmark. I don't know exactly what it is, and I'm sure it's many things, as you just pointed out with the Warriors last year. I am not saying this is all Jordan's fault.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that he was the centerpiece of a dynamic that has been removed. Part of it was his relationship with certain players. I know that there were certain players who loved him. Wiggins and Poole were boys.
Wiggins has never recovered.
There's a fair question that will be answered at some point if he doesn't start to play better. You're right. But the bottom line for me is all of those things, Klay Thompson and what he did in the offseason, his struggles, all of these things work together. And when a team is not working in concert, everything gets worse because your morale is broken. Your motivation might be broken. All of those things. It's like why people can't work well when they've got something going on at home, right? Why did Wiggins sit out for a month and a half? Because he couldn't focus, because something bigger was going on, whatever the hell it was.
We'll never know.
We're never going to know.
I owe you pizza.
Well, I owe you babysitting. Maybe we should negotiate a buyout. But anyway, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I just think everything got worse.
Agreed.
And now with him being gone, poof. Everything got better.
And again, I do think that it's an oversimplification, sensation to just point to that and say, poof, everything's better. Klay Thompson's game log on the road last year, he was 1 of 8, 5 of 14, 7 of 19, 10 of 24, 6 of 18, 6 of 16, 6 of 17. You're getting my point on that's early days Klay. Klay early days. He did not come in ready to go. And he was jacking them up, and he wasn't making them on the road. Wiseman was playing a lot. Then you got into a stretch where Steph Curry was out, and you lost a bunch more games. And meanwhile, the dynamic, as you call it, still existed. And not only did it exist, but it didn't get better. So if something happens in October and there's no repercussions and no apology and it's not made better, it's going to fester and grow. It's not going to go away when you're dealing with a young player, especially when your big bro, a guy who you looked up to, does this. So I'm not pointing all the blame on Draymond because I do think you're right in terms of it was a symptom, not the disease. The disease was overall Jordan Poole was not going to fit. His style of play was not going to fit with the Warriors' style of play. So you extract Jordan Poole and you insert a guy at 39 who turns out is willing to come off the bench and is willing to get others involved and is a stabilizing force and is a consistent ball player. So just that dynamic, to use your word,
thank you,
has now been taken from an erratic player who is explosive but a little out of control to an absolute stabilizing force.
Yeah. Now, listen, there will be all kinds of questions, especially as the season wears on, because the whole thing with age was going to show up less now than it will later, in theory, right? Chris Paul has never had a problem getting to the playoffs. He's had a problem staying around for the playoffs. But I think if you're a Warrior fan, you've got to be ecstatic with what you're looking at right now. A 3-0 road trip against anybody with this group has got to have you ecstatic. Now, there's more to it. It's not just Jordan's gone and Chris is here. It is all of the things that you would have worried about in the offseason going away. Remember how much time we've spent on, is Chris even willing to come off the bench? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. To the point where even, and this is why I know I would have won that dumb bet if Draymond had been healthy.
You came from behind, too.
I mean, here you go last night where Klay Thompson's out and Chris is still not going into the starting lineup.
And congrats to you for getting your Warriors warm-up prediction right. You said Moses Moody
double digits.
I had Chris Paul as double-double, and he didn't get there.
Oh.
I think he had 10 points, but only 5 assists.
Yeah, he wasn't even, for the first time, he was not the team leader in assists.
Right,
That
so
went
congrats
to Draymond
to you.
Green last night. But yeah, Moses Moody comes into the starting lineup, goes 5 of 8 from the field, 13 points. I think Moses has got to have everybody really excited and had his option picked up today along with Kuminga.
Yep.
And so he's good to go for at least one more year as a Warrior. But what you're seeing from him off the bench last night as a starter, like the productivity of those role players, when you think back to when the Warriors are really good and have won championships, they've got people like that who come in and are very reliable. Livingston, David West, Barbosa, people like that through the years who give you the same kind of look every night. Moses is only in year 3, but right now he looks very consistent and ready for the moment.
He does, and Kuminga has been great. I mean, he's been solid. He's made mistakes. He's getting more minutes, but he's earned the minutes, and he hasn't gotten to the point where he's playing like he did toward the end of last year where he was tentative and he was afraid to make the mistake. Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody are both playing their way, hopefully, toward getting what Jordan Poole got after year 3, which is that big bag. And that's obviously what their eyes are on. 3-0 on the road. The next 4 road games, starting Friday, it's a tough trip. You've got 4 games in 6 nights, including the defending champions on the back end. And it all starts Friday night with the biggest road game of the year, Mark. It's game 1 of the play-in tournament.
Ooh.
The in-season, not the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament, the first group,
that's right.
The first group stage game.
It's going to take a minute for me to even understand what the hell's going on. Like, I know, I get it, but like, what the hell?
There are 4 regular season games
Yep.
that have been designated. It's a designation sensation.
Very exciting.
They've been designated as in-season tournament group games. You've got at OKC Friday.
Wow.
Minnesota at home. San Antonio and Sacramento. That's your group. You got 4 games, Mark. And if you do well enough, you're going to be able to play in that in-season Final Four in Vegas.
Very exciting. I'm glad we have Steve Kerr on Thursday this week. Because I am going to grill him.
Oh, I wish I was going to be here.
If he does not sit all of the Warriors tomorrow night. I think he should bench them all. I know that there are rules now, but I would sit them all out.
Keep them fresh.
And just rest them up for Friday. Because that OKC and that in-season tournament, we need that game. We need it. So you better recognize. You better sit everybody out tomorrow night. Who cares about the Kings? That's not interesting.
Now.
Punt that sucker and give me Friday night at OKC because in-season tournament.
Yes.
Okay?
I want you just to ask, Steve, for me, it's a 2-word question, and I'm going to channel my inner Chris Paul. Hey, Steve, You chasing?
Oh, I thought he was going to ask me if he was coaching.
No.
He'd be
Hey,
like,
Steve.
yeah, I am.
Hey, Steve, when it comes to wins, you chasing?
Chase.
You chasing? Because it's
Stupid.
It's so stupid.
Oh,
Honestly,
God.
the interesting spot on the trip is on Monday. Hi, this is James Wiseman. That's the second half of a back-to-back. So if you're going to look to sit. If you're going to look to sit a bunch of players, that's the game.
Well, that's
and
what
you can only
Detroit will
sit
do.
if,
You know who's going to be sitting is going to be James Wiseman.
Oh, man.
Because that's what he does.
That hurts.
Oh, and TJD last night. Yeah, thank you, James. Interesting to see TJD last night with 23 minutes, 13 points, 9 rebounds. Here I thought Steve Kerr hated young people. Interesting to see the rookies get run. Who knows? Maybe it's because they're, I don't know, good? Could that be it, possibly?
Well,
just a thought. It's early, but I'm wondering if maybe that's what gets you on the floor rather than your age.
TJD is about 16 months away from being able to rent a car. He's not young, Mark. He's 23 and a half years old.
That's young.
It's
That's
young
what
is
Brock Purdy and Jake Moody are 23.
okay. Don't
23 is young.
cross-pollinate the tape.
That's young.
Don't cross-pollinate the tape.
That's a cross-pollination sensation.
That's another buck, and you know I could see that one coming a mile away.
I know. That's why you gave it to me twice.
On a platter.
I read you.
Jonathan Kuminga is young. He just turned 21, and boy was he thirsty.
Yeah, but come on, man. The guy this was their first NBA game, essentially. Podziemski.
Yeah.
I got in there.
Pods.
Yeah.
Let him eat. Let Pods eat.